The Democrats are trying to drum up support for Barack Obama's re-election bid in November. The highlight of the party's national convention so far, the emotional speech from the First Lady, who praised her husband and called on Americans to give him 4 more years in office. Some other key Democrats took to the stage to beat back criticism from the GOP and responded with their own attacks on Mitt Romney and the Republicans. The two candidates currently neck and neck in the latest polls, though one tally has suggested Obama has the lowest pre-convention ratings of any incumbent president since the 80s. For more on this, we're joined from the Democratic Convention by activist and writer at the International Action Center, Caleb Maupin. Thanks for joining us. So given the heated exchanges between the two candidates, kind of by proxy as it were, since they haven't met face-to-face yet, what do you think we can expect from President Obama's speech at the DNC?
Well, this whole debate between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama is a charade, because whoever wins this election, what's going to happen is the banks and the corporations are going to continue winning. There's a debate on the floor about this Jerusalem resolution. Well, it's not being discussed that every day $80 million are given to the state of Israel so it can continue to murder Palestinians. Why isn't that up for debate? Why isn't it up for debate the question of austerity? Why the continued, talk of cutbacks and social spending? This crisis began here in Charlotte, where Bank of America is headquartered, as the bankers planned their program of cuts and destruction. Why isn't anyone talking about that? There's been mass demonstrations out in the street against this convention, where the people are raising their voice, but they've been locked out and surrounded by police.
Now, President Obama's ratings are low going into this convention, the lowest, they say, since the 80s, while we've seen an explosion of public activism, including things like Occupy Wall Street, which brought up many of the points that you just brought up. Do you think there is a correlation between the president's poll numbers and public activism in the U.S.?
Well, I think the reason people are taking to the streets so much is because they're seeing that they have no voice in this electoral charade. No matter who wins, people are going to continue suffering. There's still threats of war. They're going to keep dropping the drones are going to keep killing people from the sky. Yet, the idea, that students might be able to not get financial aid, that's really scary. Millions of youth are without jobs. Food stamps are being cut. People are in all throughout this country are going to be hungry. And yet the program of the bankers just continues to roar through, and the Democrats and the Republicans are both carrying out those policies. So yes, we're going to see many demonstrations. We're going to see more occupations, and the more they ignore it, the more loud and boisterous the demonstrations are going to get.
Now, what do you see as the big differences between the two candidates' foreign policies?
I don't see very much of a difference at all. Both of them are hostile toward Iran. Both of them are militant supporters of the state of Israel. Both of them want to continue the wars, want to continue to have bases all around the world to threaten the people of the world. Both of them are hostile to Cuba and want to maintain the blockade. So I really don't see much of a difference. And if we want to see a difference in international policy, it's going to come from people of the world rising up, as they've continued to do. Obama was standing in front of Mubarak when he apologized for the coup of the Shah in Iran. So it's all a charade. Obama bombed Libya and killed thousands of Libyan people. They had the highest life expectancy on the African continent before the bombing and the destruction. So if we think the Democrats can be better than the Republicans, that's an illusion. I've never met Obama. I don't know how he feels about these issues. I can only reflect on what's continued under Obama, which is more war and more destruction.
So if you vote this year, who will your vote go to?
I won't be voting for either of the major candidates, though. I can respect, that Obama taking office showed that there's been much progress around the issues of racism in this country. An African American would not have been elected president in the 1950s or the 60s or even the 80s or the 90s, So that showed that much progress was made, and I think it's important for us to acknowledge that. But I will not be voting for either of the major candidates, and I will be taking my pick of the third-party choices.
All right. You've mentioned Israel several times. What role do you think it will play in this election?
Well, right now, there's this fight on the convention floor in the Democratic Party over whether or not to put Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And there's this big fight among the Democrats of whether we should, have a resolution about that. That's such a false debate, because every day $80 million is given to the state of Israel. And while there's all of this spending cuts in the United States, $80 million given to a government that runs over people with bulldozers, killed Rachel Corrie, an activist from the United States who was trying to protect a family from having their home bulldozed. $80 million. That should be a debate. Why aren't they debating whether the U.S. should continue to bankroll the Israeli government? That's what I'd like to know.
All right, we have to leave it there. Caleb Maupin, writer and activist at the International Action Center, thanks for your time.